Everyone thinks Berserk is about revenge, darkness, and suffering. The edgiest anime ever made. A guy with a giant sword fighting demons in an endless cycle of violence. It's brutal, it's dark, it's unrelenting, and they're completely wrong. Berserk isn't about darkness, it's about learning to live with darkness. It's not about revenge, it's about healing from trauma so profound that revenge becomes meaningless. Once you see what Berserk is actually about, every edgy moment becomes something else entirely. A meditation on recovery. The most violent anime ever made is actually the most honest portrayal of trauma healing you'll ever see. If this kind of deep dive into anime philosophy interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It really helps the channel grow. And I'm curious, what's your take on how media portrays trauma and recovery? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Berserk isn't Guts' revenge quest against Griffith. That's the setup everyone remembers, but it's not the actual story. The real story is Guts learning to be human again after trauma destroyed his ability to connect with anyone. The Eclipse didn't just kill the Band of the Hawk, it shattered Guts' capacity for trust, vulnerability, intimacy. Everything human about him was stripped away in one night of betrayal and horror. What's left is pure survival instinct wrapped in violence. He becomes a killing machine not because he's seeking revenge, but because violence is all he has left. It's the only language he remembers, the only thing that makes sense in a world that stopped making sense. The demons are external, but the real enemy is his own inability to heal, his own terror of being vulnerable again, his own conviction that caring about people will only lead to losing them. The Berserker Armor is the perfect metaphor for trauma responses. It makes Guts incredibly powerful. He can defeat enemies he'd otherwise have no chance against. But it also removes his ability to feel pain, which means he can't tell when he's being destroyed. This is exactly how trauma works. You develop coping mechanisms that help you survive. Emotional numbness, hypervigilance, aggression, isolation. These mechanisms protect you in the moment. But if you can't let them go, they slowly destroy you while you can't even feel it happening. The armor doesn't heal Guts' wounds, it just stops him from feeling them. And without feeling them, he can't rest, can't recover, can't heal. He just keeps fighting until there's nothing left. Sound familiar? This is what happens when you respond to trauma by shutting down all vulnerability. You survive, but you stop living. Casca's catatonic state isn't just tragic backstory. It's the physical manifestation of what Guts is internally. She's broken visibly. He's broken invisibly. She can't function. He can't stop functioning. She's lost in her trauma. He's running from his. But they're both shattered in the same moment by the same event. The entire quest to restore Casca's mind is Guts learning that healing is possible. That trauma doesn't have to be permanent. That people can be put back together even after being completely shattered. Every step toward helping Casca is Guts taking a step toward his own healing. Every person he lets help him help her is him practicing vulnerability again. Every moment he chooses to protect instead of just destroy is him remembering how to be human. Watch what actually drives the plot post-Eclipse. Not hunting Griffith, but Guts slowly, painfully learning to let people close again. Puck forces his way into Guts' life and refuses to leave. Isidro sees Guts as a mentor, despite Guts pushing him away. Farnese finds purpose through serving someone stronger. Shirka offers genuine care without expecting anything back. Each relationship is Guts fighting his trauma to allow connection. Each person who stays despite his attempts to push them away is proof that maybe, just maybe, caring about people doesn't inevitably lead to losing them. This is what actual trauma recovery looks like. Not dramatic breakthroughs, but slowly, painfully learning to trust again. One small connection at a time. One moment of vulnerability at a time. One choice to care despite the fear. Berserk's radical message. Trauma doesn't make you stronger. It breaks you. And healing isn't about using that brokenness as motivation. It's about slowly, painfully putting yourself back together while accepting you'll never be the same. Most media treats trauma as character development, something that happens to make the hero more determined, more powerful, more motivated. Trauma is the origin story that explains why they're special. Berserk says, no, trauma just breaks you. It doesn't make you special or strong. It makes you hurt and damaged and struggling to function. Guts doesn't become a better fighter because of his trauma. He was already the best swordsman in the Band of the Hawk. Trauma just makes him isolated, furious, self-destructive. It doesn't give him powers, it takes away his humanity. His journey isn't about using trauma as motivation. It's about recovering humanity despite trauma. About learning that survival isn't the same as living. About discovering that being unbreakable means being unable to connect. Here's the paradox at the heart of Berserk. Guts survives impossible situations through sheer willpower and refusing to break. This seems like strength, but his refusal to break is actually what's keeping him broken. He can't heal because he can't let himself fall apart. He can't recover because he can't stop fighting. He can't be vulnerable because he's convinced vulnerability will destroy him. True strength isn't refusing to break. It's allowing yourself to break, to be vulnerable, to need others, and trusting that you can be put back together. The strongest moment in Berserk isn't Guts fighting 100 soldiers. It's Guts allowing Farnese to wash his wounds while he's helpless. It's him trusting Shirky enough to use the Berserker Armor. It's him admitting he can't do this alone. That vulnerability, that's true strength. Everything else is just survival. When Casca's mind is finally restored, she's not fixed. She's still traumatized, still struggling, still dealing with what happened. But she's present again, capable of connection, able to participate in her own life instead of being trapped in her trauma. This is what healing actually looks like. Not erasing trauma, but learning to live with it. Not becoming who you were before, but becoming someone new who can function despite carrying permanent scars. And crucially, her healing doesn't solve everything. Her restored memories bring new pain. Her relationship with Guts is complicated by what they both experienced. Recovery isn't a happy ending. It's just the beginning of a new, difficult chapter. Berserk refuses to romanticize healing. It shows you that recovery is messy, incomplete, ongoing. That getting better doesn't mean being cured. That healing is a process, not a destination. Griffith is Guts' shadow. What happens when you refuse to process trauma and instead become it? Griffith was broken by failure, torture, losing everything he built. And instead of healing, he sacrificed his humanity to become something that can't be hurt again. He's the ultimate trauma response. If being human means being vulnerable to pain, become something inhuman. If caring about people means losing them, stop caring. If your dreams can be destroyed, remake yourself into something invulnerable. But look at what he becomes. Powerful, yes. Invincible, certainly. But also hollow. Incapable of genuine connection, unable to feel anything real. He traded his humanity for invulnerability, and what he got was emptiness. This is Berserk's warning. You can respond to trauma by shutting down all vulnerability, all humanity, all connection. You'll be safe from being hurt again, but you'll also be safe from ever living again. The core choice in Berserk isn't revenge versus forgiveness. It's isolation versus connection. Guts can keep everyone at arm's length, use them as tools, maintain control by never caring too much. This keeps him safe from betrayal, but it also keeps him trapped in his trauma, alone with his rage and pain. Or he can take the terrifying risk of caring again, of letting people matter, of being vulnerable to loss. This means he could be hurt again, probably will be hurt again, but it also means he gets to be human again. Every time Guts chooses to protect someone, to trust someone, to let someone help him, he's choosing connection over safety, choosing to be human over being invulnerable. That's not weakness. That's the bravest thing anyone can do after being utterly destroyed. Berserk looks like Edge, but it's actually the most honest portrayal of trauma recovery in anime. Guts doesn't overcome his trauma through revenge or violence or becoming stronger. He survives it by slowly, painfully learning to trust again, to care again, to be vulnerable again. The darkness isn't the point. Learning to live with darkness while choosing connection anyway. That's the point. Trauma breaks you. This is honest, not edgy. Healing is slow, messy, incomplete. This is realistic, not dramatic. Recovery requires vulnerability and trust. This is terrifying, not heroic. But it's possible. That's what Berserk is really saying. Even after the worst trauma imaginable, even after being completely shattered, even after losing your ability to be human, recovery is possible if you're willing to be vulnerable again. That's not edgy. That's profound.